Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Unstable Podcast with me, Ricky Belshaw, and I've got a different guest on today. I mean, they're always different, but different in terms of what he does and how interesting he's going to be. He's a good mate of mine, Steve Jones. Hey, how you doing, buddy? All right?
The crowd can calm down.
Yeah,
now.
they can all. The massive viewers we have in this huge studio. Yeah, absolutely. Tell everyone what you do, mate.
So I'm a senior program manager. I hate the bit senior in your job title.
Yeah. But you had to drop it in, didn't you? You just couldn't let it go.
Just see how important I am.
Just how high up on that tree.
So I work in the NHS for what's called a Cancer Alliance.
Yep.
And I drive improvement programs for two bits mostly, for genomics and for prevention and early diagnosis.
Okay. Yeah. What does that mean? Because that sounds like a lot of big words. Yeah. And you've got to remember I'm thick. I'm
going to try and dazzle you with as much nonsense terminology. Make myself look really clever. Right. So the NHS isn't one big organisation. Well, it is one big organisation, but within it there's like thousands of smaller organisations. So you can imagine like, I don't know, like a hospital trust, right? Is its own individual organisation. And there's loads of different bodies and bits and stuff. Yeah.
Sort of like a hospital has got different wards. They work independently, but together as a whole.
So it's all one NHS.
Yeah.
But there's loads of very specialist organisations that are quite distinct and discrete.
Okay.
Right? And because obviously specialism is really important. Like the person that did my knee surgery, I don't also want him to be a specialist in eye surgery. Or
of course.
Right? Just be good at knees.
Be good at that bit.
Do that bit. Yeah. Brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to cancer, right, there's loads of specialisms. You can imagine all the different stages. I know we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But the cancer system is incredibly complicated.
Right.
So cancer alliances were created about 6 or 7 years ago now.
Okay.
To try and work across bits of the system. So I work for Cheshire Merseyside, and there's 20 of us around the country. Cancer alliances.
Sorry, Cheshire and Merseyside, did you say that?
Cheshire Merseyside.
Yeah.
So our job, in short, is to try and drive improvement across cancer outcomes. So everything from prevention, early diagnosis, treatment, all of the stages for an entire cancer journey, basically. It's how do you make it better?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty terrible...
If you're born after 1960, you've got a 50% chance.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, the adverts being something like 1 in 5 will be touched by cancer. And now the adverts seem to be 1 in 2 will get cancer.
So I think you're misremembering it.
Possibly, but so it was certainly different. The numbers were bigger apart then than now. I'm sure I remember 1 in 5 or 1 in 4. I'm talking when I was at primary school, so I might have misremembered. Correct me.
How old are you now?
I'm 38.
Yeah, no, you're probably misremembering it because I don't think it's gone up that much. The biggest driver is age.
Right. Okay.
So as an aging population, the older you get, the more likely you are to get cancer. And so because we're curing more and more stuff, more and more of us are running into cancer. Yeah. Basically. There are some environmental factors as well. And again, we can talk about that. But it's mostly that. So so that's what I do.
Yeah.
And my two bits of specialism are specialism.
Yeah. Mate, you're on the right podcast to talk about specials.
Let's not get too carried away. So one bit is genomics. So basically part of cancer diagnostics now is genetic testing. So there's particular mutations in particular cells,
right?
And how that can inform treatment and give patients a better, more specific type of treatment that gives you better outcomes.
Okay.
And then the other bit is prevention, early diagnosis. So prevention, trying to improve initiatives that stop people getting cancer.
Well, prevention's better than a cure, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
And then early diagnosis. So the quicker you get people into treatment, the better their outcomes are. So the earlier you diagnose it, the better your outcomes are.
Yeah, because I've had my dad on here on this podcast talking very openly about his prostate cancer.
He's a legend.
Yeah, he's a good boy, my dad is. He's a good boy. But let's take it, if you can, just take it right back for me. What is cancer?
So... yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. And again, I'm going to caveat all of this with saying that I am not a clinician, I'm not a pathologist or a scientist or anything like that. I've worked in cancer for about 15 years now. Right.
Okay.
So
because my understanding is that cancer is its body fighting against itself. That's my very basic understanding.
Kind of. So the metaphor I use is like a photocopying error.
Right.
So cells reproduce by mitosis, right? So it's just they photocopy.
The process of cell division,
Yep. And when a cell copies itself into a new cell, it's like there's like trillions of bits of information, right? Because cells are super complicated.
Yeah.
And I think there's inevitably errors in that, right? And most of the time, those errors don't make any difference at all. The cell, because there's loads of redundancy and whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, it's that driver in error, in mutation, that is evolution. That's
okay.
So good
sometimes it's good.
Stick around, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's all right.
That works good into a microphone, doesn't it?
Yeah. For the audio listeners, that'd have been lovely. Yeah.
Also, like this really isn't my forte, so I'm going to get this all kinds of wrong.
Yeah, don't worry. It's all good. It's all good.
So photocopies. So sometimes errors happen in the bit of the cell that tells the cell how to photocopy.
Okay.
And over time, those errors can multiply into basically a catastrophic error.
Right.
That means the replication goes haywire.
So you get one stupid cell that makes a mistake, and then that one doesn't make the mistake, and it carries on making the incorrect copies.
Right. So basically, the new cell has
I'm
got
trying
this
to
error.
simplify it. Yeah.
So this new cell has got the error in the photocopying, and that might not be enough.
Yeah.
But then he makes another cell,
and
maybe that's fine, and so on and so on. But cells are replicating all the time.
Yeah.
So the errors build up in the photocopying instructions.
Right. Okay.
So eventually,
right. Yeah.
Eventually, you've got a cell whose photocopying instructions go haywire.
Initially, it sort of said A, B, C, but eventually it says X, Y, Z.
Oh, we're really dumbing it down.
Yeah. You honestly, you want to meet some of my fans. But that's in essence.
Basically, so it's the photocopying instructions.
I'm deliberately trying to dumb it down. Like, I want to get it very basic.
I was already dumbing it down. I'd forgotten.
To be honest, like this is going to sound silly, but I'm quite intelligent, so I really I understand. Hey, we'll have less of that. Less of that, Adrian. No, but I am. But I understand what you're saying. But I'm just for the people who don't, and there's no disrespect in that, are trying to get a broader understanding, because I think understanding these type of things is at the end of the day going to make your job easier. And the more
hugely.
The more thick people that understand this, the better.
Well, there's loads of evidence that shows the better understanding you have of cancer, the less likely you are to be scared of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the photocopying instruction goes awry.
Sorry, I keep going off track.
This cell just runs away with itself. That's cancer.
Okay.
So that's why cancer's so complicated.
Right.
So in every cell, all the cells in your body are replicating all the time.
Yep.
I think apart from your teeth enamel.
Really?
There might be some other bits, because your teeth aren't actually alive. Actual enamel isn't alive.
Okay.
But your bones are, your skin is, and
okay.
So they're replicating all the time. So
sorry, but that is going to win me a pub quiz one day.
What's that?
The enamel bit.
It might not be the only bit. I bet there is another.
See, if we had Gaz here now, we could be Googling this. You've let us down, Gaz. He couldn't be here today, unfortunately. Gaz.
So for every cell of your body, right, there's a different kind of cancer, because skin cancer isn't the same as breast cancer, as bowel cancer. But also that bit of your cell, the photocopying instructions, isn't just one. It's not a binary on off. That's a really complicated bit of the cell as well. The process of mitosis isn't just it's not really actually a bit. It's like but so there are loads of different types of errors that can happen in that mitosis process, in that mutation itself. So you and I could get bowel cancer, or something much more like a very, very more specific.
Let's say prostate.
So you and I could get prostate cancer, and they might be really different, because the particular mutations, not only the particular mutations that are happening in the cells could be different, but our bodies are different.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why cancer is so complicated. So there's however many cells of the body there are, basically there's that many kinds of cancer. It's 200 and some odd. Again, with the specialists. But again, that's why it's so complicated to treat, because you and I aren't the same people. Mutations might be different.
So is it sort of really dumbing it down, the fact that we can't find a cure for the common cold because it changes all the time, is that sort of a similar sort of vein of thinking as to why we haven't yet found a cure for cancer?
Well, so there are already cures for cancer. There's loads of cures for cancer. There's surgery and radio and chemo and now more targeted treatments, and there's even like immunotherapies and stuff that come. So there's all. That's one of the things that, like, we talked about this earlier, right? So why isn't there a cure for cancer? Well, there is a cure for cancer, and there probably will never be a pill. There's not like one size fits all. There's a cure for, like, I don't know, what's stomach ulcers. Right? You take some antibiotics, and stomach ulcer cured. There is one cure for stomach ulcer.
There's a pill,
because it's one thing. There's not one thing of cancer.
Right.
So there are an array of treatments. I can't imagine there would ever just be a one, here's the thing and it fixes the thing. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. But that's why that thing about why isn't there a cure for cancer is built on a massive misunderstanding of what cancer actually is.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's so many different types of cancer. Obviously, you got prostate, lung, breast, testicular. Like, do you think that even because you've just explained that my prostate cancer could be different to your prostate cancer, is it potentially possible that there'll be a cure, a pill, or a one-size-fits-all for prostate cancer as a whole? Or is it going to be very much sort of just for that person?
I think it's more likely to be the latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. So the bit of my job that's around genomics, genetics, basically, is probably leading us down that route of actually being able to, and this is a bit future tech, although I think it's kind of being developed. Again, not a scientist. Not, you'll be able to, because now it can read DNA sequences.
Yeah.
You'll now, the possibility is that they'll be able to read very specifically what the mutation is that's happening.
Okay. Right.
In my particular DNA.
Yeah.
That's different to yours.
Yeah.
And tailor a very specific cocktail of drugs that would only work on me because it's tailored to my
because
particular.
It's literally targeted. That's what I was getting at with that question. Like, is it like, so they'll have the chemical or whatever per se, and then they'll look at your DNA, get the readings, change it to code it to you, and then that'll work for you.
That feels like the future tech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, like future tech. I don't know if it happened in our lifetime. Even it's.
I was just about to ask what's
unbelievably complicated. I'm routinely sat in a room on a Teams call with people that make me feel dumb as a turnip, like proper.
Kind of like how I feel now, like because like this level of conversation about this specific subject is so far over my head.
We don't normally talk like this, do we?
No. Like we are mates. Like we're genuinely mates. We met online. I'm playing poker, believe it or not.
Yeah. With mates, like
it was like so. A very long story short, I used to work at a hotel. There was regular guests there every Wednesday. They'd play poker, and I ended up playing with them. Then COVID hit, so it turned online, and we had mutual friends that were part of that thing. So we ended up playing poker together, and we just became mates. It wasn't like we were on Poker Stars or any other thing. Saw each other on a video and thought, "Oh, I want to be friends."
And I'm like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, who's that? Weirdo. Why does he keep going all in? So no, we are mates, but we never talk in depth like this about your job. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on, because like, as I say, the way this podcast has sort of changed. When I started it, I wanted it to be one thing, and now it's kind of progressed. And I really just want to
you could say when you started you wanted it to be funny, and now I'm here.
Basically.
You can say that, mate.
Yeah, basically. No, it's more than that. And now I want it to be entertaining, but I want it to be interesting. And I want to get people on there that are not necessarily known to the public but they're doing good things, or they've got an interesting story. And I think what you do, and I'm not just saying it to like blow smoke, but I think it's incredible. Like you're literally saving lives.
I am quite saintly.
And you're very, very humble with that. No, but seriously, although you're not the doctor delivering that thing, you are massively part of this network.
I'm a very, very small part of,
a part all the same of this, driving forward this thing to beat. I don't know. Is it one of the world's biggest killers? I would imagine so. Is it the?
No, I don't think it's the world's biggest killer.
Cancer as a whole?
No, probably not. No.
Okay.
No.
Trains.
Planes.
No, so it's dead interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you're not a scientist, you're not a doctor. I get that, but how far do you think the human race is away from that? Do you think?
I've no idea.
No idea.
But we've got, I think, some of the foundational tools to understand that that's now achievable.
Great.
So, routinely. So, I think the first human genome took some billions and years to read. So the whole of DNA code, however many pieces of information there is. In fact, it's, one of the pathologists that I work with in the genetic lab, his background is that they've printed out the entire human genome, and of proper heavy weighted tomes. It's this wall of books.
Wow.
It's just a really cool background that he's got on his Teams call.
I think I've read a similar sort of thing obviously not him as an individual, but that thing that it's all been written up and how much information's there.
It's huge.
And then there's some conspiracy that, or it might not be a conspiracy, the people who put us here have given us all the information of how the world and the universe was created, and they've put it in our DNA. There's that much information in there. That came on a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
I think that. Yeah,
I'd be amazed if that was a thing.
I tell you what, I hope.
Hey, listen, if we start talking about aliens, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Let's just go wild.
Yeah, let's do it. But I tell you what, with all these UFO sightings in America this week,
I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Mad.
Yeah.
Mad. Loving it. I hope they're here. Yeah. Get involved. Help us cure cancer, guys. If they can get from wherever they are to here, they can give us the answer.
Maybe they have just got the pill. Maybe
the sort us out, boys or girls. I don't know. Or them. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. So that's what you do. So what do you do? What are you responsible for in terms of what is your job?
What I actually do.
What do you do?
Very valid question.
What on earth do you do?
Mostly what I do is have a lot of meetings on Teams now.
Yeah.
And help my teams of people do stuff. And so that bit about the Cancer Alliance working across all of the system, right? So it is so it goes back to the specialism, right?
Yeah.
And this is going to sound like a bit of flannel, but it's genuinely not.
Yeah.
So all of these specialisms, right? They have to be super specialist, and
I imagine
a necessary, an unavoidable component of being really specialist is that you end up working in a silo,
right?
Because you're spending all day long trying to be really good at this one bit. I'm a ninja at knees. I'm a ninja, whatever, right? But the entire pathway is really complicated, and patients move through pathways. They don't move through silos, right?
Yeah.
So all of these interconnected steps and all of these interconnected processes are at risk of not properly communicating, and there's that's definitely been true historically in the NHS. That there's
I think in general in the world, anything, right? Communication it's a nightmare.
So a big part of what we do at the Cancer Alliance is to help all of those interconnected bits properly communicate, properly connect. We facilitate a lot of that.
Okay.
Across all different kinds. I've got colleagues that work in stuff that I wouldn't pretend to properly understand.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I do is supporting my teams to go out and do stuff and help drive, a bit of vision or direction or whatever it might be, and help create kind of the strategic context in which things might happen.
Yeah.
Building relationships across all the other bits of the system. So a part of what I do is prevention, for example, is smoking cessation, right? It's the biggest thing you can do to prevent cancer.
Well, not smoke.
Not smoke.
Yeah, I was going to say, the way you smoking is absolutely what you should do to avoid getting cancer. Just wanted to clarify, that's not what he said.
Not stopping smoking.
Don't smoke.
Single thing.
Do not smoke.
And there's loads of bits of the system that are focused on improving people quitting smoking, smoking cessation. Right. And we don't have a natural mandate for that. It's not part of our job. We don't have a target for improving smoking cessation. But we do a couple of bits of work where basically we're spotting opportunities within the system to say there's a gap here that we could try and see if we could improve something. And then we come up with a piece of work. We liaise with all the different system stakeholders to say what would be needed to try and make this bit work a bit better.
How can we get that?
And then we provide the resource. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's project support, whatever it might be. Working with all these different component bits to create a little pilot or a piece of work. And if that works, to then help the rest of the system adopt that bit of improvement.
Right, okay.
So you're always that continuous improvement.
So you're kind of adding that little 1% here and there. So if you can help 10 things by 1%, you get a 10% improvement overall. You're that guy that sort of gets in all that. Okay, cool. So you mentioned smoking there. Obviously that is the big no. We all know that, or we should do. Vaping is what's the deal there? What's the advice there?
Well, so firstly, there's a lot of unknowns, right? It's still a relatively new tech, and that tech has evolved loads over the past, they've been around for like 15, 20 years, something like that?
Probably, I don't know. Again, if we had Gaz here, but Gaz has let us down twice today.
Has absolutely ruined the day.
He's ruined it. He's ruined this podcast. Ruined it. Should we just go home now?
Be kind in the edit. So the latest that I've read from Ash and places like CRUK are that vaping isn't known as a carcinogen. So it's not been demonstrated to cause cancer. It's also by the best evidence that we've got, it's something like 95% less harmful than smoking. So as a part of a quit attempt, vaping is a legit tool. And I think some hospitals are now prescribing vapes.
Oh, I've read this
as an alternative.
I've read
to
this.
smoking. So it's not like have a vape because it's fun.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's a tool to get off the cigarettes. Yeah, to get off tobacco.
Way less harmful.
Yeah.
We haven't got the long-term kind of epidemiological knowledge. Like that's the thing. What's going to happen in 30, 40, 50? We just don't know.
Yeah.
But we know you're not burning all of the crap that's in a cigarette.
Yeah.
So it's way less harmful.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that we should.
There's literally vaping. Like arsenic and everything in there in tobacco.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
It's ridiculous.
How you think about it in the grand scheme of it, in 100 years' time, when people are looking back on how did we allow smoking to be
unbelievable?
How are they not immediately illegal?
Yeah,
it's unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
But you could argue the same about alcohol.
Yeah, but alcohol's a lot more fun.
Oh, it's a lot more fun. Yeah, at least you get something out of it. But you know what I'm getting at with that.
But the thing is, there's no. I don't know. There's no. There's clearly no benefit in smoking. Like it's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
So vaping,
you might enjoy it, but there's nothing good that comes out of it.
I don't know. I was an ex-smoker. Like I read I've read the Alan Carr book, How to Quit Smoking. It's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant.
Is it?
Yeah, it's almost like self-hypnosis.
Okay.
And one of the things that like really stuck with me, that really helped me quit way back when, is you don't actually like it. If you actually do a bit of mindfulness when you smoke a cigarette, it's horrible. The actual sensation. What you've done is spent however most people started smoking when they're a kid, right?
And I don't care who you are. Nobody enjoys the first drag. It tastes horrible. It coughs. You cough.
Yeah.
It's just vile. No, you're absolutely right.
You trick yourself into thinking you need it, or that it's great, or that it's a relief, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But you've completely head faked yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, biggest thing you can do to improve your health across loads of things. I mean, again, so my area of knowledge is only cancer. I don't really know much about cardiovascular disease or anything else. As we well know. This is why we're talking about cancer today, mate, and I'm not going to show you up on any other subject matter. Okay? Exactly. Don't ask me about poker.
No, you beat me to it then. I was literally just about to say I won't bring up your poker skills. So I was genuinely, you beat me to it by about 10 seconds.
Do you want to have a guess at what the second biggest thing you can do to prevent cancer is?
The second biggest thing you can do to prevent cancer? Exercise?
Nope.
Eat broccoli?
Nope.
Is it diet-based?
Not really, but kinda.
Drink water?
Nope.
No, go on.
No, we're just gone now for the rest of the pod.
For the rest of the pod.
Shit guesses.
About...
no.
The best thing...
go on, one more.
Sex.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Ladies, you heard it here. You heard it here first. That's what we need to do.
No, it's overweight and obesity.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah. I'm so angry that I didn't say that.
They're the big two. It drops off a lot after that. But but the thing is, and overweight and obesity, which is separate to your diet or separate to exercise, so they're all preventative as well. But obviously they are like managing your diet, managing your exercise are a component of how you manage, or obviously the components in how you manage your overweight and obesity.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But they're separate and distinct. As is like, getting lots of fiber and not eating lots of processed meat and stuff.
Well, a lot of the processed foods that have got all these like weird carcinogens in and stuff into it. Just avoid it. Just eat clean. Yeah. As you know, I went vegan a while back, and it wound you up like mad. But I did it, but I found it so hard, even though because I did it for health reasons and I wanted to be healthier, and I found it so hard to do. Because all of the vegan alternatives, they were so processed that actually, if you don't go vegan and clean with it, and have whole foods, you're actually worse off physically.
Yeah,
you're actually not as healthy as if you were dogging down a load of steak. So I'm back to a carnivore diet now, and I feel fantastic for it. I do honestly. I feel great. I feel so much better than I did. I was struggling to keep weight on. Anyway, so basically, what you're saying is don't smoke and monitor your weight. Yeah.
They're the big two.
There's the main two.
I mean, there's some specific ones. Like if you I don't know, if you're a radiotherapist, make sure that you're standing behind the lead curtain when you're X-raying people. That kind of thing. There's work-related ones and things like, asbestos was one for a while.
Yeah, of course.
So there are some of those, but they're quite specific in terms of general population.
the radiology one that you mentioned there, that is something that genuinely concerns me because
the
of
amount you've had,
how much I've had. Yeah. Like 2 weeks ago, I had them injections into my spine. Yeah. And the
Have
scans,
you talked about that yet?
No.
Are you ready? Like, you want to talk about it?
We can do. I'm not going to get into it now because we're coming towards the end of a section, but I will. Yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
Or maybe we'll put it in the Patreon and then
because it's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts.
What happened is,
I've always known you're a tough bastard. Jesus wept.
It was, it was an experience.
Yeah, man.
It was. I'm going to say it. Fucking horrific. It was really bad. Really bad. I'm going to call it there. I know it's slightly under half an hour, but I think that's a really good place to have a quick break. We're going to go for a quick break now. Come back for part 2 because there's some stuff I'm going to talk with Steve about Kate. That's going to be really impactful. So please do stick around. I think you're going to find it really interesting. See you in a bit. Bye-bye. Welcome back to part 2. If you're sticking around, thanks very much. If you fucked off, fuck off.
I won't hear that.
Exactly. If they're fucked off, I don't fucking want you here anyway.
You didn't think that through.
Luckily, Steve didn't go. So that's a relief. Thanks for sticking around, mate. Appreciate it. You spoke in the first section there about early diagnosis.
Yep.
I've just gone flaccid. For the audio listeners, my mic just literally went in slow motion down onto my lap. That's why I made the flaccid joke. That could be an editing point. But no, you mentioned about early diagnosis.
Yep.
Why is that so important?
So in short, because your outcomes are going to be better. So the earlier you get
but why?
Broadly, So I thought you'd want more detail. That's all I'm saying. And
get diagnosed early, it helps. Right, on to the next question.
So typically, it's not true for all cancers, but typically for most cancers, stage 1. So there are 4 stages. 1 and 2 are considered early. 3 and 4 considered late.
Yeah.
So at the earlier stages, the tumor is more likely to be discrete and in a very localized space.
Yeah.
The staging describes how much it has spread. And typically by stage 4, that means that bits of the cancer has broken off and moved its way around your body.
Everywhere.
So it's much more systemic. Yeah. So typically that means it's much harder to treat.
Yeah.
Typically with like the much more spread cancers, it's much harder to use surgeries and targeted radiotherapies and all those kinds of things. So it's basically harder to treat.
Because it tends to like wrap around nerves and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just spread all throughout. And you can't always find all of it either as well. So there's a type of cancer called cancer of unknown primary, which is where a cancer's been diagnosed, but it's known that that's not where it originated.
They don't know where it started.
Yeah. So again, it's a really, it's why it's such a awful disease because it really spreads around. So that's what early diagnosis is so important. So that's one of the things where like there's all those campaigns.
Just to interrupt you there, I do apologise. I had a friend who died of cancer when she was 18. So she had it in the bone marrow of one leg, so they took it out and replaced it with titanium. Then it happened in the other leg. Then she got it in her lung, and then she got stage 4, and she had so many tumours all over her that she just couldn't do it. And we don't know, but her mum developed breast cancer whilst she was pregnant with Louise. So her getting cancer really could have been linked to that. It was terrible. But so awful, I kind of know, or I've got experience of what you're talking about there. About I've known someone where the cancer has just spread until a point where they just can't do anything, and it's heartbreaking. But you mentioned about the 4 stages. Then obviously 1, 2 is early, 4 is very bad. Define 3 for me, mate. Is that? Or is that just kind of on the way to 4?
So I think 4 is completely systemic. 3 is past the lymph nodes and into other body parts. I think 2 is beyond localized and 1 is just localized.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a clinician, so I bet I've got loads of that wrong.
Okay.
And within staging, there are a couple of subsets. I can't remember what that's called.
So if you are listening to this, fact check that.
Yeah, definitely fact check
That's really important to fact check.
But basically, staging is early stages. It's really discreet. It's easier to treat.
Yeah.
Stage 4 it's pretty much systemic. Very hard to. Still is a treatable thing. People still survive stage 4. It's just much harder, and that's why it's so important to get early diagnosis. So that's why you see all those adverts and campaigns and stuff about like the screening programs, breast balance, cervical screening campaigns. So important to engage with that because they'll identify it way earlier. That's why we're always banging on about paying attention to signs and symptoms. And if the basic message is if you've had a symptom that's unexplained for 3 weeks or more and it's not right for you, and there's no reason why you're getting this symptom, there's just been this change, something's not right, get it checked.
Get it checked.
It's probably not cancer, but if it's been going on for about 3 weeks or so, your body's probably not self-correcting it. So just get it checked out.
Get it checked out. Yeah. I was talking to obviously my dad's had prostate cancer. For those of you who watch all the episodes, you've seen that and here's prostate issues there. And as a result of that, I now go for annual blood tests.
I'm familiar with the punchline in your routine.
Yeah. Well, the reality is it's not actually that anymore. It's a blood test.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You do your PSA.
PSA. Yeah, they check for my PSA levels. So any of you who have seen my set, it's actually a lie. I don't. I don't have to visit Dr. Big Knuckle anymore.
Still a good joke.
Yeah, it's a great joke. I do like that joke. I like the topper even better.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to.
Let's not burn your set.
No, I'm not going to ruin it. Yeah. So there it is.
Go and see Ricky live.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible is the word that I would use. What about you?
It's a way to fill in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Look, it's 20 minutes out of your day, all right? I'm actually, believe it or not, working on my first hour.
What I don't believe is you've made a career out of it.
Oh, no, mate, neither do I. I've gone full-time in less than 3 years. Like, I don't know how I've managed that. Hey, who knows? Anyway, back to the subject, because I think it's important. So early diagnosis is absolutely super important.
A big part of what I do.
Is there a percentage you can give us or any sort of statistics about the sort of rate of remission in early diagnosis to later? Are there any
survivability stats?
Yes.
So it can be really massive. So obviously it's different for every individual. It's different for every tumour, but it can be as much as we tend to measure in 5-year survival rates because by the time you've survived 5 years, you're sufficiently past all of your treatment that it's probably done.
Yeah.
Now there's no, and again, it's different for every tumour.
Yeah.
But so we measure it in 5 years. So like when I first started working, I heard the 5-year number and I kind of thought, oh, you only get 5 years, but actually it's 5 years and beyond.
Yeah.
So the 5-year numbers for things like bowel cancer, so stage 1 is 90% or higher actually.
There's actually a well-known promoter who's just been diagnosed with that. They've got it very early and he was operated on last week.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, Jim, I hope you're feeling better, mate.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck to you, man. Good luck.
So early stage is over 95%, but late stage, I think it's about 20%.
Right.
So it can make a massive difference.
That's huge.
Like a massive difference. Now, I think skin cancer and bowel cancer, are the big two. Breast cancer as well, I think.
My dad's had skin cancer as well.
Yeah.
So,
but again, because they're quite discreet and easy to operate on, just whip it off.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much done in most cases, not in all. But
this is a true story. They diagnosed my dad with skin cancer when the doctor was assessing me for my disability. When it just went in and just a standard routine thing, and my dad had a little blemish on his face, and he said, "Oh, what's that, Mr. Balshaw?" He said, "Oh, it's always been there." And he had a look, and it's skin cancer. So I'm like 10 at this point, crying my eyes out because I've just been told in the office I've gone in for a routine check on my legs, and then I found out that my dad's got skin cancer.
Your dad's found a way to make it all about him.
Yeah, it's all about him again. Another podcast that's about my dad. Thanks, Michael. But literally, he did it. He treated it on the spot. He'd got liquid nitrogen and sprayed his face, and then a few days later, it scabbed over and dropped off.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's had it's recurred a few times over the last few years, but because he knows the little blemishes he gets there, he had it. He had it a few years back, and they gave him this like chemo cream, so he had to put it all over his face, neck, head. Shoulders and chest, because that's where he was getting it. But this chemo cream, they call it, there's probably a better name for it.
Most certainly.
But this chemo cream, it basically is, you could put it on any of the skin, it doesn't do any damage at all. But where there's skin cancer, it just attacks. Yeah. And I've got the pictures of my dad, and honestly, it looked horrific. And he was doing it, and it was an horrific treatment, and he has to do it every 2 or 3 years just to get rid of it, because it's like he's like got it in him. And but they've got this cream, and it does it, and it fixes him, and he has to go through about 3 weeks of absolute hell every few years. But it just an incredible treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Learn something.
There you go. Every day is a school day. Did I interrupt you midway through something? Then probably. Yeah. Sorry, I have a habit of doing that. I'm just a terrible host.
What were we talking about?
Terrible host.
Yeah. So basically, if you see signs and symptoms, get checked early.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. So anything, just summarise, anything that you've had for 3 weeks or more that you don't have a reason for, it's not something obvious, go and get it checked out.
I did. One of my first jobs in cancer was community engagement stuff, right?
Okay.
And I still had a lot to learn, but I was working in Salford, working, some really challenged communities.
Yeah.
And I made a route into the Orthodox Jewish community, which I know,
Okay.
I mean, now I know more, but at the time I knew nothing about.
Oh, I know nothing. Yeah.
So we're in this little hall. I was with the GP and the guy that organised the community group. And then all of these Jewish guys, all quite serious, all like listening intently. And I was at pains to point out at the beginning, I don't really know much about the Jewish community. I'm here to try and help. If I say anything stupid or ignorant, please tell me so I can learn more. I'm obviously not trying to cause offence or anything, right? Yeah. So we did the whole thing. It was really good.
How long ago was this, sorry?
Ish. 14, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
A good while.
Yeah.
And at the end, putting the chairs away with the GP, and these two fellas came up to us and were like, so you said that rapidly losing weight might be a sign of cancer. What about rapidly gaining weight? And the GP was like, well, we typically wouldn't associate that with, and I was like, if you suddenly started going to McDonald's a lot and then maybe, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You said it. Yeah.
Fortunately, they both just laughed.
They're not going to be going there.
Waiting right to the end to say the stupid thing. Yeah,
I love that. Most of them had left as well. The last two, your last few minutes of interaction, and you ballsed it up. Absolutely love that. I love that. That's a great story. I'm going to change the subject totally now, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. But you've lost a very close friend recently. I'll say her first name, Kate. It's up to you whether it's okay to identify. I don't know what
it's Kate Rackham.
Yeah,
she got quite a big deal on social media.
I know there's a charity and stuff. I wasn't sure what I was not allowed to say, but if I'm allowed to say a full name, that's fine. I never met her, but I have met a fella. And obviously, you lost her recently to cancer.
Yep.
How? I mean, to lose a close friend to cancer is horrible anyway. Yep. I've done that. I've been that. I've been there. I've done that is what I meant. I've experienced that from a friend's point of view. So from that I understand. But from your point of view, working in the industry of prevention and potentially cure, how was that for you? And I don't want to put any loaded statements in or load up your answers, but was there an element of guilt there?
No, not guilt, but there were a touch point because and
I'm sorry if it's a hard subject.
No,
it's
okay.
About.
Well, I like talking about Kate and remembering Kate. She was basically like a sister to me, and it's nice to kind of remember her and talk about her because she was a phenomenal person. So my job's really removed from patients. I don't meet patients very often. Yeah. It's something that we do. We have patient stories in the work that we do, and it's always at the focus. Improving patient outcomes is absolutely what we're about, and we never lose sight of that genuinely. But we're not at the coal face, so to speak. And I've been in clinics. So when I started my first job in the NHS about 5 years ago, I shadowed a lung clinic.
Shadowed a
lung cancer.
Yeah.
And I've been in a room where a patient was given their terminal diagnosis and given about 3 to 6 months, and you just I've a tiny bit.
Powerful.
I interact with patients, but tiny. So I'm generally sat in an office.
Yeah.
So it's quite
removed.
Yeah, it's quite removed, and it's almost it's not theoretical, but it's not like a lived emotional experience.
You're looking at statistics as opposed to individuals.
And genuinely, I really give a shit about my job.
Yeah,
I know.
I know. Yeah, that's not. You're not just saying that. I know. You give a shit about your job. To the extent where I avoid even trying to, unless I have to, avoid messaging you in the day, because even though you work at home, I know that you take it so seriously. You're that involved and engrossed that you don't want to be distracted by a little message from me saying, "Are we playing poker later?" Just.
I mean, you're bigging me up a bit because I still do that, but
no. But
I do take it seriously. Right?
You take it really seriously, and that's really refreshing to see.
Well,
to be honest,
it's easy to care about.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So when Kate was first diagnosed,
I got that in well for you, didn't I? Like
cheers,
your
buddy.
boss is going to say that. Right? Yeah. I mean, he won't find out about our secret daily messages and stuff. Yeah.
The fact that we're recording this during the work day.
On a Tuesday.
For the record,
Tuesday lunchtime.
What day is today?
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
Yeah, I am joking. What's your boss's name?
How much trouble can I get in here? So I remember when she was diagnosed with a primary cancer, and I was sat in my car. Mark rang me.
Yeah.
And I was about to go into a GP practice and do a whole thing about early diagnosis and screening. And that's one of the few moments where there's been a couple of occasions, but that was really real, where like one of my best mates has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. And even though she was diagnosed early, she was really fortunate in that regard.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of like holy shit, this is really real. The better I am at my job, the more that people like my mate will get looked after.
Yeah.
And then it was quite recently after she died. So she got secondary breast cancer just about 5 years ago now.
So what does that mean? So she had got breast cancer.
So basically it comes back, but it's incurable.
Right.
So it progresses to other bits. And in Kate, it was in her hips and her spine, if memory serves. So, there's a lot of treatments that delay and slow it down, but essentially it's incurable.
Yeah.
And I remember it's just a couple of months ago. So I'm based at the Clatterbridge. So the Cancer Alliance that I work for is hosted by the Clatterbridge Hospital in Wirral in Liverpool. Again, amazing organisation. Does brilliant things. And I've walked up and down the hospital corridors a badillion times, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it wasn't even the most recent time that I'd been in the hospital, but there was just something about walking down the corridor that day that really reminded me of going to see Kate in the Christie when she was right at the end. And it just powerful. It's really overwhelming sometimes. Yeah. But to be honest, most of what I deal with is really positive. I mean, most of what I deal with is really positive. All of what I deal with is about trying to improve stuff.
Yeah.
So
great.
So in that space, it's not too personal. But then the fact that Kate died of cancer and it's kind of my job, and that made it a bit more shit.
Yeah.
Not to wax lyrical about it too much.
I get what you. And I imagine that would be the case. And that's. I hope you don't mind me asking but I think it's important that these things are spoke about.
Yeah, 100%. And everybody talks, well of people they've lost, but she was genuinely inspiring. I mean, she was a stubborn bellend when she wanted to be, but I can say that because I genuinely loved her.
Yeah.
But honestly, the work that she put into all of the charity work that she was doing and helping create the charity. So fighting to be heard, Google fighting to be heard.
You don't need to, we'll put it in the description.
Nice one. Follow the link in the description, fighting to be heard. Yeah. They support people with secondary breast cancer.
And you know what? I'm going to go as far as say, follow that link before you follow the Patreon. Yeah. So
nice one. One click. That's all it takes. Amazing charity. Do, support people in just the shittest of circumstances. Yeah. But she was just all over the place helping people. She really super motivated, even when she was really ill.
Yeah.
She was really super motivated. There's I'll maybe tell you the story afterwards because it involves somebody's very personal life who I don't know, but I know the story and I wouldn't want to identify them.
Yeah.
But basically somebody was doing some stuff that probably wasn't actually beneficial to their life. And right at the end, she was counselling them, trying to persuade them to do the right thing and really think about their future and all that. Just phenomenal human being. Yeah.
I never met her, but obviously I've been around you and Mark, and she does sound like an amazing lady. Awesome. So this charity, what is it?
So it's fighting to be heard.
It does.
So basically, it supports women with secondary breast cancer diagnoses.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of community support, and just one of the things that Kate really got from it was a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and a feeling of not being alone.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that a lot of cancer patients will talk about, and Kate did talk about, is that sometimes it's really lonely, even though you're surrounded by love and support and all of that, it's still your own very weird internal personal journey. Like I can't imagine, right, not having been there.
Yeah.
But the working with the girls at Fighting to Be Heard really gave her that sense of community, a place to talk about stuff, because there's all weird, unexpected shit that would happen that you're not going to plan for or understand, and having somebody else that you can be like, this is happening to me, and they're like, yeah, that happened to me, or this,
it's those like silly things like chemo. Everyone knows it makes your hair fall out. What you don't think about is your eyelashes falling out. Just silly, like all that kind you think of stuff, like your eyes are going to like welded shut in the morning. Like your head on your hair is going to fall out, but it's not just that. Like just silly things like that. And I imagine having that support network. And I've actually read somewhere that, I don't know the exact numbers and I don't know the rates, so fact check this, but it's been proven that the survival rates increase in groups of cancer patients when they are sort of with like in a network of friends and stuff that are also fighting it. That has been proven.
I mean, I can believe it, and it's about care, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a really interesting stat, and I'm going to get some of the details of this wrong, but it's something like if you're over 75, in terms of health outcome, and this is going to sound perverse, if you are forced to do one of these two options,
right.
So if you're over, I think it's over 75, if you're forced to live really socially isolated, or you're forced to start smoking, you're better off with the smoking option.
Wow.
Because being socially isolated wrecks you.
Yeah.
Right? Because loads of practical reasons, right? If you fall or you really help, but actually, we all know we're social animals.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Without human connection, life is meaningless. And without, like, we're built to be social. That's why we can do the flappy noise things and make talk that you can understand. That's like we're social. It's a requirement.
A lot of comedians struggle with this because people assume that it's incredibly sociable, and we're all there with each other all the time, but it's incredibly solitary. We work unsociable hours. Like I'm leaving for a gig often, depending if I'm open, middling or closing. But let's say I leave at 6, traveling 2-3 hours on my own in a car. I get to a green room where I'm with people for 10 minutes. Then I go out on stage. You'd think it's sociable. It's actually incredibly lonely because it's just me talking. Then I get back into the green room, say goodbye. I'm back in my car for a few hours. I get home at early hours of the morning and I go to bed. It's lonely. And there's a lot of mental health problems within comedians with that. So I understand what you're saying about with the over 75s. It being social is so important, and having that network of friends, family, just people, just to talk to. I go and see my granddad at the home, and I just love sitting there around all these old people that are telling me all these stories, and they're all dementing, so they're telling me them again and again and again, and I know the stories better than them now, but it's just lovely, and they're probably getting an extra few years out of just being together. And it's powerful stuff. And actually my granddad, he started going downhill, and we're going off the cancer subject here, but he's declining rapidly. And it's really sweet that all the people in the home are like looking out for him. Like they noticed that he wasn't shaving and stuff, and they're like telling us, and it's just a really nice network of old people in these homes.
So I like that sense of communities, and just that sense of belonging and being a part of something. Like it's purposeful, it's important.
And that's what the charity aims to do.
Just to be clear,
sorry,
I'm not saying that when you're 75 you should start smoking. Like
don't hit 75 and go, baby, let's spliff up.
Like Steve on that podcast.
If you're 74 watching this, do not start in the next 12 months, right? But if it's that, if there's a group of people over there smoking, or there's a house there, are you going to be on your own forever? Go and have a cigarette. Right?
That's a very weird, not real choice that you're being made to.
But that's what we're saying here.
Go get mates and don't smoke. Straightforward.
Yeah, cool, got it. Right, is there anything else that you want to think that you think is important that you want to add before we bring this to a close?
I don't think so.
No. What are there any good charities? Obviously, there are that many charity chances. I was going to say then. I can't say it. Cancer charities out there. Which one would you recommend? Where would you get your money to?
My charity chancellor of choice.
Charity chancellor of
I don't know, man. There's too many to choose from. What I would say is that if you're if somebody's looking for something to care about, think about what would matter most to you in terms of like what cancer do you want to support, what's affected you.
Yeah.
Have a Google and get involved with them, because there's a badillion ways that you can support. I'd obviously advocate everybody go and have a look at fighting to be heard. Because that's my Kate's one,
of course,
and they do amazing stuff. So but I rather than saying like a specific one, just get involved.
Just get involved. Whatever's personal to you, whatever you think, just go for it and do donate, because that money does make a difference.
Makes a real difference.
Yeah.
Real difference.
Yeah. And we were talking out there about like, the whole thing with Big Pharma in America, and people are assuming that they're hiding the cancer cure because they're wanting to make money. If you're thinking that, you're thick. I'm just saying it as is. It's not the case.
I mean,
don't get me wrong. They are making money from the cancer treatment.
Oh yeah.
But
and pharma companies have like been discovered to have done like some of the most reprehensible course of behaviour that you can imagine.
Yes.
But yeah, there's actually a lot of really good stuff going on there, and there are some amazing international and UK charities.
Yeah.
But there's big ones like CRUK and Macmillan.
Yeah.
But like Clatterbridge has its own cancer charity, which I always try and point people to, because again, that money goes directly to helping people survive. People aren't getting rich off charities typically.
No.
Apart from anything else, it's heavily regulated.
Yeah, which as it should be. So basically, guys, the world is round, and the charity money actually goes.
Whoa! What's this round nonsense?
Yeah, it's round, mate. It's round. The world is round, and the money actually does, generally speaking, go to where it needs to be.
Yeah,
and it actually does make a difference. So
the thing to say is get involved.
Yeah, get involved.
Just get involved.
Look, 1 in 2 people are touched by or will get?
So if you're born after 1960,
50%
of us will get cancer.
Like, that's a huge statistic, guys. So you or your partner, statistically speaking, is going to get it. So you're going to be touched by cancer. So I think if you're going to give to any charity, go for it. Get involved with cancer, because it is going to affect all of us at some point. My dad's been affected. You've lost a friend. And, statistically speaking, mate, one of us is going to get it.
Actually,
it might be bad. I mean, it might be, to be honest, mate, it's more likely to be me with all of the radiation I've been exposed to recently.
Right. If we're going to do the Patreon bit, are you going to do this story that you've just told me earlier about your procedure?
Yeah.
It's
I will.
nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I will. I'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll go off track. We'll go off cancer. Yeah, no, I will. I'll talk about it on the Patreon. Steve, do you want to... I mean, normally I've got like people who are advertising their socials and stuff.
I'm here doing Finn.
Mention Finn. Mention Finn.
My God,
if we're going to shout someone out, let's mention Finn.
All right, so check
We are going to get him on the podcast, by the way. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's really good.
Over to you.
So Finn Birch, he's on all of the musicy things.
Everything.
He's on all the socials.
Yeah. FYNN.
Yeah. Properly, like obviously I'm biased, and I was expecting, he's always made music since he was a tiny little kid, and I've seen him like perform in pubs and capture an entire pub audience and stuff. He's really talented,
really.
But I know I'm massively biased. And then he starts making this music more recently, where he's actually paying for studio time, and he's like talented, mate, really talented.
I've heard some of the stuff, and I've watched every link that you've sent, and he's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. So basically, I want to get him on the podcast before he's famous.
Before he becomes,
Because honestly, I'm not just saying it touch wood. I think he could blow up. He's really, really talented. So Finn Birch, was it? Yeah. We'll tag him in the little box below, and we'll also put the charity in there as well. Obviously, I'm going to advertise the Patreon because that's for me, but check out the other links as well first. Guys, thanks ever so much for sticking around. I really hope you've enjoyed the episode. I know it's been heavy, but I think these things are important. So thanks for sticking around. We are going to go over to Patreon now, and I'm going to tell that horrific story.
Do it, man. Do it.
I've had a surgical procedure done recently that was horrific. So I will talk about that now. Go across, it's patreon.com/unstablepod. It's still just £1 a month for the first 1,000 members. It's just £1 a month. And as I said last week, what we're going to do, once I've hit that magic 1,000, I'm going to get this logo changed, get little photos of all the Patreons, my first 1,000, and do one of those things, where it like all the pictures. We're going to do one of them and change the logo.
Oh, cool.
So my first 1,000 Patrons are going to be a part of that. So patreon.com/unstablepod. Get involved. If you've made it this far, thanks very much. Give us a little like, give us a little comment, click the link that we're going to put in for the charity.
Yeah, cheers.
I don't know when this is going to go out. It's probably going to go out the week in between Christmas and New Year. If that's the case, I hope you've had a great Christmas, and I wish you all the very best for the new year. So take care, guys. All the best.